What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach Show. And listen, we just finished watching. Glad you can all be here whenever you guys get here, but I'm still excited from what I saw in this NBA Finals. I got to say that right off the bat. I'm still excited from what I saw in this NBA Finals. And, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drop one for the Knicks. I'm going to drop one for the Knicks and for Jalen Brunson for winning that title 4-1, first time in 53 years. Big stuff there from the New York Knicks. But ultimately, I'm here to talk about the Raptors and roster construction, considering what we saw throughout the playoffs and what we saw in the NBA Finals. And so I do want to talk a little bit about what the Raptors may have to do in regards to the Raptors, the roster construction for next season. But boy, there are a few things that we got to talk about here. What did you learn, if you learned anything at all from watching this postseason and the finals? The parity that's happening in the NBA, what the Knicks did, and what the Raptors should do. And where's my charger? Let's just plug this in from now so this laptop doesn't die on me. There we go. Listen, first and foremost, okay, one thing that I absolutely learned is that you need a killer. You need an absolute killer if you are trying to win an NBA championship. And what we saw, all this noise about one Jalen Brunson, he's too small, he's not big enough, all this crap that we've heard over and over and over again. And yes, we've seen over the years that it is tough to really get the job done if you are an undersized guard. Yes, we have seen that. But damn it doesn't mean that it's impossible. Jalen Brunson is a different type of animal. We're talking about relentless, physical. He never lets up. He's on your ass. And he puts pressure. And I'm talking about serious pressure on that damn defense. On that damn defense. Daniel Franklin's in the building and immediately says, health is key. And you're 100% right. Because it would have been a very different scenario had Oklahoma City been healthy. And we can talk about that after as well. But you're absolutely right. 100%. 3-point shooting matters as well. 3-point shooting matters as well. And we were seeing guys make some timely shots for the New York Knicks. And I'm not looking at any of these guys like they're 3-point specialists, but they can make shots. They're two-way players, a bunch of two-way players, and the Knicks got a bunch of dogs. But aside from being able to shoot threes, they can do other things. And the reason I'm mentioning these things has to do with the Raptors as well, because these are some of the things that you're going to have to see from them in regards to improving the roster for what they're going to be able to do next season. Bench depth. Bench depth. Now, listen, the NBA has changed. And at one point, maybe you can get away with trying to win a title with 5 or 6 guys. You're not going to see that too much anymore. You're going to need guys to come off your bench. You're going to need guys to come off your bench at every position. Point guard on the wing. You're going to need diversity at your 5 position, because you want a 5 who can rebound and be a dominant rebounder for you and do damage inside the paint. You want another 5 that can stretch the floor for you. You got to have options here. And for the Raptors, damn it, that's something they have to figure out this offseason. You got to be able to have options at different positions. Everywhere. Especially at that 5 spot. Because that is one of those positions where they have struggled with time and time again over these past years. They have got to figure that out. You got to be able to have an option that can do damage for you inside the paint, be able to rebound, defend. And if you also have another option that could do some of those things, but stretch the floor for you at the same time, then that is also what you need. But at some point, you want to be able to choose, what do I need at this time in the game? What do I need at that point in the game? And you want to make sure that you have those options where you can go to that. The NBA has changed. If you look at these teams, you look at the Knicks, stretch five. Stretch five, if you're looking at Wemby on San Antonio. Oklahoma City with Holmgren. If you're looking at an Evan Mobley with Cleveland. We've talked about this multiple times. You got to have options. You got to be able to switch your offense up and create space for everybody on the floor when the time calls for that. The game has changed. You look at the teams, the parity over the years, right? Because it's been 8 straight years now where the NBA, and keep your comments coming in, and I'll get to them a little bit later. But 8 straight years now, a different champion in the NBA. Starting off with the Raptors in 2019, where they win 4-2 over the Warriors. Lakers in 2020, they win 4-2 over Miami. Milwaukee, 4-2 over Phoenix. Golden State, 4-2 over Boston. Denver, 4-1 over Miami in 2023. Boston, 4-1 over the Mavericks in 2024. Last season, we all saw Oklahoma City defeat the Indiana Pacers 4-3. And we saw what the New York Knicks just did to the San Antonio Spurs. And coming into that series, I could be wrong about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe San Antonio were the favorites going into this series, which is crazy. I mean, if you look at all of these teams that won, and, you know, the thing is I titled this show Raptors Roster Construction, but in the description I put, what is the perfect roster situation for the Raptors? There's no perfect roster here. There is no perfect roster. All of these teams, right, that won, they were all built a bit differently. I mean, you look at the Raptors and the amount of guys that they had when they won this thing. I mean, their team was incredible. When you look at Lowry and Danny Green and Leonard, Ibaka, and Marc Gasol and Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, I mean, they just had a whole bunch of guys. And it would have been a crazy task to try to win that thing if Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, if these guys don't go down. Like, it would have been a whole different ball game. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, when Daniel Franklin came in, he's talking about health is key. Health is key. And guess what? You can't help. Is there mosquitoes in here? What the hell is going on here? You can't help injuries. Like, they're going to happen. You just have to hope they don't happen at a time when you're going to need your guys most. Like, you look at in the playoffs, you look in the finals even. Look at that final game with Wemby and Brunson. Wemby gets his foot underneath Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson almost destroys his ankle. There's no call on the play. But imagine if that was a little bit worse and Brunson goes down with an injury there and the San Antonio Spurs win and this thing continues and there's no Brunson. Massive hypothetical. I'm just putting it out there, right? But things happen. Injuries are always going to be a part of it. A lot of this too has to do with luck. Don't get me wrong. A lot of things have to go your way in terms of winning a championship with your roster construction, your coaching, chemistry, experience, talent, physicality, all that kind of stuff. But injuries are a part of it. And sometimes luck is a part of it as well. You got to be healthy. So I absolutely agree with that. But the point is that there's no perfect way to build your roster here. And I talked to you a little bit about some of the guys that were on that roster. Okay. But you're looking at the Lakers, Milwaukee, Golden State, Denver, Boston, just thinking about all these teams and how different they are. Oklahoma City and now New York being led by what, a 6'1" guard ish? Is he 6'2"? Am I pushing it? But 6'1" from Jalen Brunson. I mean, just an absolute pit bull. And so I'm thinking about this Raptors roster and how it was constructed this past season. Some of the changes they're going to have to make. I mean, listen, we just saw Bobby Webster get an extension from Keith Pelly and MLSE. Now, I don't know what the details are. I don't know what the terms are in regards to the years and all that kind of stuff. But I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. Last season for the Raptors was not the season that you had to be concerned about. Anybody who's been watching me knows I easily predicted the Raptors win 47 games, and I think they ended up winning 46. And I'm pretty sure any of you who are going to be watching this, who follow this team, also knew that the Raptors were going to be a pretty decent team come this season. And I mean, this past season. I don't think that was hard to predict. I mean, considering that Milwaukee, we didn't know what was going on with them. The Miami Heat took a step back. Philadelphia, I figured Joel Embiid's always injured, so, whatever when it comes to them. The Indiana Pacers, no Halliburton. The Boston Celtics didn't know what would come of them, even though they did really well this season, and they were 30 games over 500 without Jason Tatum. It was easy for one to kind of figure out that Toronto would be a pretty decent team. And I'm saying this in correlation to the extension for Bobby Webster, because I've mentioned it wasn't about this past season. We knew the Raptors were going to be decent this past season. If the season prior to that, they were throwing games and they won 30 games trying to lose, you give them a healthy roster, even though Pirtle was out for a bunch of games and Emmanuel quickly. But you add Brandon Ingram into the equation, one could pretty easily figure out this team was going to be decent, right? Like, the problem is that it's going to be harder to go from a 30 to 46 win team than going from a 46 to a 50 win team. That's going to be harder. That's the next step. So I mean, the last thing you want is this, right? Because we already knew. How are you going to do worse than not making the playoffs? How are you going to do worse than not making the playoffs? If you won 30 games, okay, doing worse would be what? Winning 25, winning 29, adding a Brandon Ingram and not making the playoffs. That would be worse, right? But now you've made the playoffs. Now you've pushed the Cleveland Cavaliers to a game 7. Now, with that being said, expectations are going to arise to come next season. With those expectations, you want to see things happen for you. We don't know what the roster is going to be. We don't know who they're going to draft yet. We don't know what the roster is going to be looking like in trades, in terms of signings, trades, and whatnot. I don't think this roster is going to be the same come next season. We don't know what the hell it's going to be. But now people in this city and people following the Toronto Raptors, the fans, are going to expect that you exceed the first round. I mean, if you got to the playoffs in the first round this year and you push Cleveland to a game 7, do you not expect them to take the next step forward for next season? Or am I wrong here? Are you just expecting another first round exit or for the Raptors to not make the playoffs at all next season? You're expecting to go backwards. I don't think that's what the case is. And so before I get into specifically the Toronto Raptors here, what did the Knicks do? What did the Knicks do? Why were they so effective? Why were they so potent in this offseason? I mean, first and foremost, Jalen Brunson is just absolutely next level. Like, I don't give a damn what anybody wants to say when it comes to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a dog. Like, Jalen Brunson, I'm gonna drop one more. Jalen Brunson is a dog. And he puts so much pressure on that damn defense when he's going to the basket, pulling up, shooting that floater, hitting it from 3. When I'm talking about confidence on 100, confidence on 100, that is Jalen Brunson. I mean, step back from 3, making free throws in the clutch, putting the ball on the floor. I mean, he has no fear in him at all. He'll take it against whoever. It doesn't matter. And the one thing that bothers me the most about this whole thing, and I like Wemby. I like Wemby a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. And he will be in the NBA Finals again. How long it will take, I have absolutely no idea. But I do think he'll be there again. What I don't like is that you got way too many people crowning this guy like the savior of basketball before he's had a chance to do anything. Can he win a finals first, please? Like, can he win something first before y'all start going crazy about Wemby? He's an amazing player, an amazing talent. But to just crown this guy the best thing that's ever happened to basketball, I don't think I would go that far yet. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. He's going to be an amazing player. Already is. And this is just the beginning. He's going to be getting much better. But damn, can you make him earn something first, please? I mean, we're out here talking about a David and Goliath matchup in the NBA Finals. You're not Goliath. You haven't done anything. You made it to the finals, but I mean, damn it, you had a rough time when you got there. I mean, so first of all, the Knicks were talking about Jalen Brunson next level. I mentioned that to you. It's a team full of dogs. Full of dogs. Roughnecks. Chemistry. Guys who are vibing with each other. I mean, you're looking at these guys. We talked about Brunson. You're bringing a guy like OG Anunoby. You're bringing a guy like Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns. You're looking at a guy like Josh Hart. Then off the bench, you have an Alvarado, a McBride, a Mitchell. You see, one thing I really like about the New York Knicks, I mean, you got to give some big props to Dolan to go out there and get President Leon Rose, Executive Vice President, Senior Basketball Advisor Worldwide Wes, also known as William Wesley. And for those of you who don't know who that is, I suggest you go look him up. He's been around a long time. He's got a lot of ties to different people, a lot of relationships, and to bring him in to get guys in there, they did a phenomenal job. And the way that I see the New York Knicks, and I don't know this actually to be the case, but from what I'm seeing and the players that they assembled and put together, they brought in hoopers. They brought in guys who are two-way players, chemistry, physical, dogs who vibe with each other. And I don't think they necessarily overdid it from a roster, not from a roster, from an analytic standpoint. I don't think they did it. I'm going to repeat that once again. They did not overdo it from an analytic standpoint. Did y'all hear in the series when they were talking about, it was Coach Kenny Atkinson, by the way. Cleveland, was playing New York in the conference finals, and obviously we're all watching that series. And when Kenny Atkinson said that they were up now, the Knicks ended up going up 3-0, right, in the series. And Kenny Atkinson ends up saying that the analytics shows that they were actually up 2-1 in this series. You heard me correctly. And I'm sure all of you heard that. And you are probably wondering the same thing that I'm wondering right now.
It's happening over here during whole season. I've been holding it back. It's a complete crap.
Listen, I talk about analytics from time to time. I'm not a huge analytics guy, but you do have to admit it plays a vital role, right? In the way that you assemble your team, in the way that you put your roster together. Analytics play a massive part in that right now. And I think when it comes to certain teams, there are times, at least in my opinion, I think you can overdo it with analytics because analytics don't tell you the full story. Right? You know, Josh Hart had a hilarious saying. He said he got it from one of his coaches, I believe. And I think some of you probably heard it too. When they asked him in a post game, you know, I think it was after the Knicks won against Cleveland or maybe after one of those games. And he said, you know, analytics are like a light post to a drunk person. You can lean on it, but it won't get you home. And so watching these NBA finals and watching how the Knicks play and how their roster construction was put together, I was like, man, are some teams leaning too heavily on analytics instead of making sure that you're doing your due diligence to make sure you got the right guys? Because you got to look here, right? Jalen Brunson, this is a guy picked 33rd in the second round, who the Knicks went out and signed, and they said that they were going to put a team around him and that they were going to win. And damn it, they did it. A lot of teams would not do that strictly on the fact that, you know, Jalen Brunson is a guard that is undersized. And by undersized, we're just saying a small guard. I don't believe in an undersized guard or an undersized player. To me, you are just a player. I don't give a damn what size you are. Either you can play or you can't. It's one or the other. You can play or you can't. I don't care what size you are. Yes, you're going to have a roster of players that are all different sizes. If you're 7 feet tall, you can either play or you can't. You know how many friggin' trash ass players we've seen that are 7 feet tall? It's the same thing. And so these guys, and by these guys, I mean the front office and a very good front office for the New York Knicks, put together options at each position. Guys who can shoot, guys who can defend, guys who are hard nosed, they can get out in transition. And you're looking at that 5 spot that's vital now, of key importance. You have a guy in Karl Anthony Towns, highly skilled offensively, not terrible defensively either, but highly skilled offensively, who can stretch the floor for you, can get rebounds for you as well. And then you also have a guy that you can plug in off the bench in Mitchell Robinson, dominant rebounder, can seriously crash that glass, can't shoot worth a lick, free throws either. Just completely horrible. But boy, can he grab some rebounds for you and give you second chance points. It was huge, and he did a great job of doing that in the postseason and in the finals as well. You got to have options at each position. And so looking at the Raptors now, right? The first thing I would say is that I mentioned earlier that you got to be a dog. You need a killer. And Scotty Barnes can be that guy. We saw what he did in the playoffs. If you got any more comments, bring them in there. I'm going to get to them shortly. We saw what Scotty Barnes can do in the playoffs. We need to see that continue. He's got to go in from the jump. He's got to put the NBA on notice and put them on early when this season comes back around. We know Scotty Barnes is going to be here. And I think Scotty Barnes is going to go absolutely crazy next season, by the way. But your defense at the same time has to continue to be a top 5 defense. And if it's not a top 5 defense for the Raptors, it's got to at least be a top 10. Your roster has to be changed or improved for now your offensive ability to now move up the rankings as well. You got to at least try to be close to at least top 10 in offense as well. Top 10 offense and defense. And if your defense takes a hit to improve your offense, there has to be a balance, but they both got to be somewhat top 10. You need reliable 3-point shooting. Reliable 3-point shooting. Guys, that was this past season. 3-point shooting was pretty rough for the Raptors at times. I mean, we have had games, and I mean, every team does, but we have had games where the 3-point shooting was abysmal. Abysmal. Now, if you have a guy like Jamison Battle, or you have a guy like Grady Dick, for example, those guys who are supposed to be your 3-point shooters, for example, I'm using, their ass can't be glued to the bench because they can't play defense. I mean, if you have guys like this, they have to be able to get in the game, defend, and make shots. Next season is going to be a different ballgame. The East is going to be stronger than it was this year. And if you don't figure these things out and have those options with a capital O, that's a big primary word that we need to focus on. Options. You're going to be in trouble. Detroit's not going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Either is Boston. nor the Knicks. Not sure what's going to happen with Cleveland, but it looks like they're going to run it back, I believe, but we'll see what happens with them. The Hawks are going to be better. I don't know what to make of the Philadelphia 76ers, but don't assume that they're going to be bad. Orlando, I'm sure, is going to be decent. The Charlotte Hornets are going to be better. What is going to be of the Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks? I don't know, because they will trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. Where he's going to be going, I have no idea. The Miami Heat, I don't know what's going to happen with them, but the Indiana Pacers are going to be better. What is going to happen with the Washington Wizards, with Anthony Davis, who I don't think will be playing on that team come next season? Trae Young. They got a high draft pick. Whoever their pick is going to be, I don't know. Tabonsa. The point is, these teams are going to be better. And the Raptors got to make sure that they figure these things out. That's why we're here talking about this damn roster construction. 3-point shooting has to be better. And for God's sakes, for crying out loud, we got to figure out a situation here when it comes to having options at that center position. You need a rim runner. You need a lob threat. You need another big who can stretch the floor. You need options. You need options here. I mean, yes, Jakob Poeltl, I'm assuming he's going to be back as a Toronto Raptor. And if it's one thing that you got to hope for, like Daniel mentioned earlier, it's health. I mean, if he's here, damn it, he's got to be healthy. And for God's sakes, I've talked about this time after time after time. Can you work on something with your game, please? Can you get a mid-range jump shot going? I mean, for the amount of money that you're getting paid, you're telling me all right now in the offseason, the Raptors have not been playing for what, a month now? Over a month? Can you work on that for us? Pretty please. Can you work on getting some type of jump shot? I'm not telling you to step back behind the line and freaking turn into Victor Wembanyama here. I ain't saying that. I'm saying you got trainers. You got resources. You got coaches. You got development coaches. Can you help the guy try to get some type of jump shot? Can you do something to give us options here, please? It's not impossible. Maybe it is. Not impossible. And by me saying that as well, it's like, okay, well, the Raptors have the number 19 pick in the NBA draft. Who are they going to take at 19? I've done shows on this already. And now the draft is going to be coming up, I believe, next week. And so we're going to be talking about this again. Because the Raptors have options here at number 19. I don't know if they're going with a big. I don't know if they're going with a guard, a wing. When it comes to the Raptors, I don't know how they draft and how they do their research. I will say that they've done a pretty decent job in regards to their scouting and, their drafting. I'm not going to say they bang it out the park every single time, but they do a pretty decent job. They definitely hit with Colin Murray Boyles. I like what I've seen from one Jamal Shed and Jacoby Walter. Don't underestimate that 50th pick. We have seen NBA Finals MVPs come out of that second round. Remember what we're seeing right now in Jalen Brunson? Second round pick 33. Remember that guy, Jokic, who plays on the Denver Nuggets? Yeah, I remember him. Surefire Hall of Famer, one of the best players you've ever seen come out of the second round. We've seen all of this stuff. We know these picks matter, especially when you're in a position that the Raptors are in. You got to hit on these picks. All of these things matter. Your guards all got to be two-way guys. They all got to be two-way guys. I like what I saw from one Jacoby Walter and Jamal Shed. I like what I saw from those guys. Emmanuel Quickly, he's an interesting one. You know, we really got cheated from seeing what Emmanuel Quickly would bring to the table for us in the playoffs. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see him. I'm wondering what the consensus is on him for the front office going forward. I'm curious about that. Because I like Emmanuel Quickly. I think he's a good player. But I don't think this entire roster from a standpoint of at least the starting unit, the starting five that we saw for the Raptors, that's not going to be your starting five next season. I don't see that. I don't think all of them are going to be back. I think there's already a plan in place, something in motion that is going to be big change for the Raptors, in my opinion. I don't know that to be the truth, but I also think that something had to have been presented, I would assume, when Bobby Webster was getting this extension. And by presented, what his plan is going to be going forward, telling that to Keith Pelly and MLSC. Maybe I don't know. But I'm assuming that was the case. So the Raptors, you need chemistry, experience. You need dogs, physicality. Obviously, you need talent. But your guards, everybody, you got to have two-way players. You got to have options at that 5 spot. You need some type of stretch big, dominant rebounder somewhere. Reliable three-point shooting. Your defense has to continue to be stellar. Scotty has to continue taking that step forward and be the star that we believe he can be. And you gotta hit on these draft picks. Your roster construction, there's not one specific way, like I mentioned before. There's many different ways that you can build a roster. But the chemistry also has to be there. And that's what I say, depending on who you bring in and some of the players that you like and that you want to, explore to pair with Scotty and all that kind of stuff. Be careful what you wish for depending on who you want to bring in, because chemistry really, really matters. I'm going to get to your questions here and some of your comments before I get out of here. I wanted to do this show 20 or 25 minutes. I'm gone way past that. Sorry, folks. Health is key, says Daniel. Completely agree. Mr. GG 1959. Historically, it was almost always about depth in the NBA. Only into 2000 did it become if you had a big three. That was probably enough. You're absolutely right there. Agree with you. Completely agree. And now it's phased back out of that and back into the depth. So I do agree with you there. Daniel once again says, if Raps could somehow trade Grady for Khalil Ware, that would be worth a few second rounds. Khalil Ware is a guy that I think teams are going to be monitoring. Still a young guy, athletic, can run the floor, can stretch the floor for you. I'd like him for the Raptors if the Raptors can find a way to land a guy like him. And it seems like, I don't know, they might be dangling him and trying to use him as part of a bigger deal. I would assume the Miami Heat would be doing for Giannis Antetokounmpo or whatever the case may be. There's probably going to have to be an extra team or a third team if they somehow manage to get a deal done that can facilitate some of these other contracts and players. Maybe the Raptors could be a part of that. Far-fetched, but just putting in my 2 cents there because I do like that you mentioned that. Coach Roach says, "Hey, Mike, hope you are well." Coach Roach, what's up, my man? Hope you're doing well. We got to get on another show soon together. San Antonio, Mr. GG 1959 says, San Antonio were the favorites. Thank you for confirming that. Daniel says, complementary plays, styles, and chemistry. Guys who know their roles, no ball hogs. Exactly. And I agree with that. And I know that some people might look at Jalen Brunson as a ball hog, but I don't look at it that way. I think Jalen Brunson and the guys around him just simply understand what their roles are. Like you mentioned, they simply were stars in their own role. And that was a massive, massive part. Coach Roach says, one thing I've noticed since we won the title, every team since then has had a big who stretches the floor. Exactly. And that is a big deal. And Bobby Webster likes guys and bigs who can stretch the floor. How do I know that? Damn it, because he's told me out of his own mouth. Okay? I've talked to him before. Gasol, Ibaka, Brook Lopez, Portis, Porzingis, Jokic, Chet, Cat. Yep. Got to be able to stretch the floor, man. You need options to open those damn lanes up. And if he's wide open from 3, boom, you got to get somebody who can knock it down. Which is why if Pirtle is a starting piece moving forward, he has to learn to shoot from 15 to 25 feet, or someone else needs to be in the starting lineup. Listen, I don't disagree. I think that at one point, with you being in the NBA for over a decade, are you going to start expanding your game? I don't think that's too much to ask. Now, in regards to how far he's going to be able to shoot from, if he can ever take a jump shot and learn how to shoot, I don't know what that's going to be, but damn it, be able to do something. They defeated the Warriors twice during the season, and once the Raptors didn't have Kawhi. And in the other game, they didn't have Ibaka. Daniel says, Great 5 is the most valued player in the league. It's heavily coveted right now. Heavily. Had the team stayed relatively healthy this season, they would have won 50. They also didn't have RJ for 22 games. Damn, it was that many games? I didn't realize there was that many games. Wemby is special. Spurs just need a solid forward, but I think Fox contract was a mistake. They're looking at that one right now. I mean, what was that from De'Aaron Fox? I'm a little disappointed. I didn't see that one coming from De'Aaron Fox. I thought he was going to give us some more than that. That was wild. Raptors champs is in the building. Facts. Because if Scotty played the way he did in the playoffs, we wouldn't have got BI maybe. It's kind of true. Scotty is above average at his position. That helps a lot. The rest of the roster doesn't have the same two-way impact. Scotty is just a freak. I mean, Scotty is crazy. Like, everything that we saw from him in the playoffs is exactly what I suspected he could be. Exactly what I expected to be. When he decides, and he has decided, and I think it's going to be different for him. He gets it. He understands it. I think he's going to crush guys next season, to be completely honest with you. I really, really do. Is 3-point shooting on the coach and how they scheme? Part of it. Washington could be good. Would you be in favor of Domantas Sabonis trade? Yeah. I like Sabonis, actually. I'd have to look at numbers, contract situation and stuff, and who you would necessarily have to give up to get something like that done. I mean, I wouldn't kill myself going after like Demonis bonus, but I would look at it, see numbers, who you'd have to trade, and that kind of stuff as well. But listen, get at me in the comments. Make sure that if you're not in the chat, get at me once again. I will get back to you because I always do. At Micros7 on IG, at Micros23 on X. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, share, and rate the Mike Roach Show. I've also started writing articles on Substack. You will see a few articles, or at least one article every few days. I have my next article dropping tomorrow about the Toronto Raptors. Last one I did was on Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks winning the NBA championship. Thought I would step out of my comfort zone and get into a bit of writing. So that is new and on the agenda. I will try to get you a link to that at some point. But thank you for joining me. Get your ideas in the chat and in the comments, and I will get back to you as fast as possible. There was a press conference that I saw today with assistant GM Dan Tolzman talking about the draft. And so I'm going to have to go watch that in its entirety, see what he was talking about, and I will get back to you in regards to whatever his comments were and the 2026 NBA draft and what the Raptors could possibly do at number 19. I did see him mention that he said there were options on the tables for the Raptors moving up in the draft and down in the draft. I did believe I heard that. So there are a bunch of things that we can talk about in regards to that. And I will make sure that we discuss that on the next show. You caught the show late. It's all good. Watch it over, get caught up, hit me up in the comments, and I will get back to you. This is the Mike Roach Show. I'll be back again soon, and I'm out.